What is going on? We have right here early predictions, right? The number one UFC fan in Japan. I'm trying this out. So hopefully it works. But we're going to do is if nice 323, guys. I am really pumped for this card. But we have this weekend off. Doesn't matter. You know, the grind doesn't stop. So please sub, like, all that stuff because I've been killing it. Me and my friends online as well. Shout out to Elite Bet Fights, man. He's really good. Cheddar Betters, CB Betters, all that stuff. Anyway. Pretty crappy intro, but it doesn't matter. We're going to keep going. Now, the first fight right on the prelims, early prelims, Muhammad Naimov versus Myron Santos. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, when I'm doing these fights, when I'm breaking them down, I'm going to tell you who I think is going to win, okay, how confident I am in them, and also I'm going to talk about my favorite prop to bet on over 1.5 rounds, the likelihood of it going over 1.5 rounds. If you're confused by that, it means basically for the fight to exceed 7 minutes and 30 seconds, right? Anyway, we got Muhammad Naimov versus Myron Santos over here. Now, I'm going to be quite frank with you without really going into details. I'm actually kind of liking Myron Santos here. Now, he is the favorite. Now, but it's kind of a strange one in that for this one, I do feel like, man, it's really tough, actually. You know why? Because I feel like Naimov is actually a good dog. Yeah, it's a weird one. So I know my personal pick, I think I'm actually going with Myron Santos here. But I think I think Naimov actually is a decent pick just because he has more fight time experience and he can actually maybe even dictate the pace. Now, I think it should be a close fight. And as far as it going over 1.5 rounds, yeah, I mean, I think, look, these guys are featherweights. And I think, 70% of the time it's going to go over 1.5 rounds. So I think Myron Santos, if you want to get an early action parlay, you can actually put him in an early action parlay there, meaning, if you want to just get some action early on the card. And if you don't like that, you can go over 1.5. Now, if you want to fade that, I do think that Naimov is a decent dog because you never know. Might sprinkle. So do that do what you want with that, right? Myron Santos, you want to put him in a parlay. Option number 2, just put over 1.5 in a separate parlay. Option number 3, you want to fade that, just put Naimov, just sprinkle on him. Look, he's a plus 210 dog, or if you want to pre-hedge here, Myron Santos, you think, I've got him in some parlays, you could kill it. Well, you can actually pre-hedge there a little bit, bet a little bit on Naimov, just a little sprinkle there just in case if you're scared, just in case. But, I mean, look, I'll let you do what you want with that. Now, let's move on before I go too crazy over here. Now, this is another one, actually, it's going to be really fun, man. Mansur Abdul Malik versus Antonio Trocolio. Now, the odds I'm not often going to hear. Middleweights here, I'm going to tell you straight up, who do I think is going to win? I am leaning Abdul Malik, and the reason why I think is because he's likely the more technical of the two. He's got the grappling and the wrestling. And, I think Trocolio is just less proven. I think that Malik probably wins this maybe 60% of the time. And as far as it going over 1.5 rounds, meaning exceeding 7 minutes and 30 seconds, I do believe that it does more often than not. I think maybe, 65% of the time, it's got to go over 1.5 rounds, right? I know these are big guys and, they got some power. But I think more often than not, there could be some grappling in here. I think Malik is smart. He wants to mind his P's and Q's and maybe get some grappling going, or at least make it a mixed martial arts fight, meaning don't just stand and bang with him. You got to mix up in the wrestling. And I think he could actually, maybe dictate the pace, maybe win the decision. So, yeah, I think Malik is good, and I think over 1.5 rounds is good too. Now, let's go on more. We got some more here. It's a kind of interesting one. I do need to read. I think these are early leans, guys. So there's not too many. I haven't watched a ton of tape on these yet. Just been looking here and there, looking at stats. But man, they can't even look at this. Bryanovsky, no images, of course. Man, come on, ESPN. What are you doing? Come on, UFC. But yeah, Iwo Bryanovsky versus Ibo Alsan. We got the Iwo versus the Ibo. That's interesting. Sorry, that's messed up. All right. Anyway, I think as far as who I'm leaning, I think Aslan. He's actually a dog. I think he's a decent dog here. I think he might, the reason why I'm leaning him is just, physicality. And maybe he might want to push that wrestling base. You might want to use that wrestling there. So, I think I think he wins it more often than these odds imply. Plus 165, it's a decent dog. Probably wins it maybe, 60% of the time. And as far as it's going over 1.5 rounds, I'm not really too high on it. But I do think it does go over 1.5 rounds more often than not. Take that with what you will. I think a sprinkle here on Ibo Alsan. And I think over 1.5 maybe. I mean, look at the odds. If it's a really good odds on that, maybe it's worth a sprinkle. Or maybe a little degenerate bet. You want to just get some action in there. But it's not my most confident over 1.5. But, hey. And remember, guys, if I do talk about over 1.5 rounds, you can also even just you can say, you know what, why not just starts round 2? That's super chalky, but if you have that prop available, starts round 2. If you want to get even more, you want to get like some more plus odds, you could go starts round 3. You know, that's another one too. But I think I like to just keep it simple. Over 1.5 rounds or not. Anyway, got to look into that one. Not, you know, it should be a fun fight though. But I think I'm just going to move on. Now let's keep going here. We got what? Ooh, Edson Barboza versus Jalen Turner. Man, the Barboza just coming for getting those paychecks. Now this one too, I think for this one, I do believe, man, you know, it's such a strange one. I mean, I think Jalen Turner is a good pick here. I mean, this, you know, this is, like I said, even without tape study, we're already big fans of these guys. Or rather, if you're a hardcore, you kind of seen enough tape on these guys. It's good to watch tape though to actually refresh your memory. You do not want to just kind of go in there too blindly. But Barboza, I mean, you know what? Just in a way, could be a good dog just for the hell of it. Just for the hell of it, man. You know, sprinkle on him. I mean, look, he's a veteran striker. He's got, you know, really good technique there. But and I think, but of course, obviously Turner is risky because he can get caught. But I mean, look, Jalen Turner, he's the obvious favorite for a reason. I do think that is my pick. Okay, I'm going to tell you, Jalen Turner is the pick. He is aggressive, could be risky. I think the over 1.5 rounds for this one, I think 50% of the time it does go over 1.5 rounds. So I'm not too confident in that. Like I said, if you see really good odds on over 1.5 rounds, like maybe you have plus money on it, I think it's okay to sprinkle on. Or if you just want to do a degen bet, you want to fade it and you're just going to put over 1.5 rounds in a 2-leg parlay, that could be okay too. But that's not one of my most confident over 1.5 round props. No, this is not the fight to be doing that necessarily, unless you have good odds on it. And like I said, if you just want to just stay off that, if you're not trusting Jalen Turner, I think Barboza, you know, it's okay to sprinkle on him. But he is the pick. Jalen Turner should win this. He's larger, he's younger, and Barboza has obviously taken a downward climb. He's past his prime. It's just, I mean, 39 years old with a lot of mileage, you know what I mean? He's been in there, man, the greats. And, lightweight, maybe it's not the best. And, Jalen Turner's a big lightweight. So, I think it's okay. Jalen Turner, I think you could put him in a parlay. But, part of me just kind of wants to just, sprinkle on Edson Barboza just because we're fans of him. And, he's a dog. He's got the dog in him. He's got some good striking. But Jalen Turner should win it. If Jalen Turner is smart, he would actually try to use some grappling here because that's obviously Barboza's weakest part of his MMA game. And Jalen Turner, I think even on the feet, he should be able to kind of pick him apart a bit. And, if he's smart, he was not going to let Barboza get his game going, get those kicks going. He wants to, once he starts getting into trouble, go for a takedown, even fake a takedown, try to make it an ugly fight and win that way. But anyway, let's keep going. Oh, another interesting banger here. Marvin Vettori versus Bruno Ferreira. Such an interesting one, man. I think, Marvin Vettori, he's a durable guy. He likes to go in there, kind of mix it up. He's just kind of good all around. Lacks the power at this weight class, really. Bruno Ferreira, though, he does have the power. He's nicknamed the Hulk. There's going to be two stocky dudes. One with Ferreira has the power. Vettori has that cardio going for him, that grittiness. It's a weird one in that, and they're evenly matched. Vettori could, he has experience. He's well-rounded. And, but I think, the danger factor has to go Ferreira. And Vettori is proven. It's a weird one that it's such a close fight. I think it going over 1.5 rounds, I do think it does go over 1.5 rounds more often than not. So that could be a fun one. Look at the odds there for that if you want to sprinkle on that, or maybe just do a little degen parlay, 2-leg one, fun one. Or rather, one that you want to get some action in. It's not necessarily that degenerate because, I think Vettori is, he's experienced and he's durable enough to he should survive. Who knows? Maybe Marvin Vettori, if he's smart enough, I think he would, he's usually experienced. Don't want to just stand and bang there. He's going to try to, mix in a little takedown, try to, push him against the cage, do a little pitter patter. But in my honest pick, I have to go Ferreira here at these odds. I think if it's a pick 'em, I have to go Ferreira just because, he's got that power advantage to him. But hey, Marvin Vettori could put it off. This one's a tough one. This is my early lean, so I'm leaning Ferreira. But don't be surprised if Marvin Vettori doesn't get done. I think he could use his experience if he's smart. Maybe grind out a decision even. So I think look at the odds, guys, as this goes. You gotta look at the line movement. We're still early in this. This is not until next weekend. So I think Ferreira's a pick so far. But I think Marvin Vettori, he could get it done. So over 1.5 rounds, and look at the Vettori line. You gotta look at the line movement to decide. But for now, I'm kind of leaning Ferreira, but it's a close fight. All right, boom, moving on. Nazim Sadikov versus Faris Ziam. I do think this is an interesting one, very interesting matchup. I think this one, you know what? This one, even before tape started, I've been looking at them a little bit, but I kind of remember anyway. If you're hardcore, like I said, you should have this in your mind anyway. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I kind of feel like the over 1.5 round should go more often than not for this one. I think, trying to look at my notes. Sorry, guys, I have a bunch of notes here, just kind of looking through all the stuff. But yeah, I do think that over 1.5 should hit more often than not. If you look at that, Ferris Zerum is a minus 140 favorite here. He's going to be the taller guy. He does have some nice striking, once he gets it going. He's a technical fighter, and he has the size. So Nazim Sadikov, he's no slouch, but I mean, it's a pick 'em. I think I do have to lean. Yeah, I do have to lean Zerum in this one. I do think he could use his technical striking and his size, just to kind of like maybe, kind of maybe pick apart Sadikov. And I do think it goes over 1.5 rounds more often than not. So yeah, it's an interesting one. Yeah, I have to look at this a little more. But so far, I do think Zerum is a decent pick at these odds, and I think that over 1.5 round should hit more often than not. But let me know, guys. Let me know if you're gonna like or fade that pick. Now, boom, let's go on. Oh, we got Macy Barber versus Karen Silva, women's MMA, and yeah, Macy Barber coming back. She is the minus 160 favorite. Karen Silva is the plus 135 dog here. I think, yeah, Macy Barber. But it's interesting. I think it is a close match in a way. For this one, I do think it's a tough one. Macy Barber. I think I have to lean Barber here, though. I think it's a big return. She's got good striking. She's been showing her. She's been evolving, and I do think Silva is tough. But I mean, I think this matchup more often than not maybe favors Barber actually, and I would say 60% of the time maybe she wins this fight. So I think she's a decent dog. I mean, or rather a favorite. I think I get it. Over 1.5 rounds, I do think it more often than not it does go over 1.5 rounds, but I'm not. It's a tough one, man. Look at the odds. If the odds are super steep, it's maybe not worth it. But if the odds are decent enough, if you feel like, okay, these odds are not so bad, I wouldn't mind locking that in. So I think Macy Barber is okay. At these odds alone, I think it's okay to put maybe a couple units on, maybe 1.6 units to try to win a unit on that. And I think over 1.5 rounds, if they're decent, I think it's okay to play that in a separate parlay. But yeah, let me know if you're taking the dog Silva. I mean, she's tough. I think Macy Barber, it's her fight to lose if you want to wear it that way. So yeah, it's women's MMA. I know that's a cliche, but it can be volatile at these levels. I mean, you never know. At the higher levels, it gets a little easier to pick, but at these levels when they're they're not like necessarily the world beaters, not necessarily the champion level yet. It gets a little bit more dicey, a little more risky to pick. But I do think Macy Barber should win this more often than not, and over 1.5 rounds. I've already said that, not repeating myself. Boom, we got a banger coming up. This is what you're fun. I mean, dude, Terrence McKinney, we're all a fan of his. Fun one, man. Terrence McKinney versus Chris Duncan. What a banger of a fight, dude. This one's gonna be interesting. I've kind of been back and forth on this one a little bit, but I think, look at that. Plus 160 underdog, man, McKinney, and minus 190 for Chris Duncan. I kind of get it, but McKinney, he's such a hard one to bet on or against. I mean, he it's hats off to him, man. He's the fight doesn't go the distance. He should just get I would like, I love a t-shirt of him, of Chris McKinney, with like fight doesn't go the distance on there. FD, what? FD GTD. Yeah. That's why I always use that acronym when I'm going for bets. But yeah, it's a tough one. I think Terrence McKinney is actually a good dog. I mean, plus 160, look, he's either going to kill, he's going to be, kill or be killed. He's going to finish you or you're going to be finished. And I mean, he's got some good grappling ability, obviously, but he's got the power in his hand, that speed. And I think Chris Duncan could, whether he is tough, but I just think that explosiveness, I think he could finish him because Chris Duncan can get hit. If you don't finish him, if McKinney gasses himself out trying to finish Duncan, then Duncan can come back. I can see that happening. But I do think he wins it more often than not. As far as going over 1.5 rounds, man, I don't know. I think more often than not, it does not go over 1.5 rounds. But I'm going to have to look at that prop. It's really annoying when the props are like, over 1.5 rounds is like, or under, it's like under 1.5 rounds is like super chalky or something. It's like they expect it. So I think over 1.5 rounds is a degenerate bet. If it's really plus money, like really crazy good money, maybe you could sprinkle on that. But I think Terrence McKinney is a good dog here to sprinkle on. And yeah, that's why I'm going to have to go for that. If Chris Duncan gets it, I guess we could see a later finish. But I do think this night fight is not going the distance. So if you want to, that could be a good one too. Depending on the odds, fight doesn't go to decision or doesn't go the distance. Could be a good prop for this. Look at the lines, guys. All right, moving on, guys. We got Grant Dawson versus Manuel Torres. Just really, really fun fights. I feel like every one of these fights could be just like a fight night main event or something. And he's a nice one, dude. It kind of makes up for the lack of UFC this weekend. But yeah, Grant Dawson versus Mano Torres. It's an interesting one. So Grant Dawson here is a minus 210 favorite. He does have grappling on his side. Mano Torres is plus 175. I kind of get it. I think Grant Dawson is he's a pick here for me. I mean, he's more seasoned. He's a good grappler. So I do think he's going to be smart and use that grappling to try to maybe get a decision win here. That's why I do pick him. I think he's a good spot. I think he wins it probably more often than not, as the odds imply. And as far as over 1.5 rounds, yeah, I think that's a good one. I think, 70% of the time, this fight has got to go over 1.5 rounds. Lightweight, Grant Dawson with good grappling ability. They're both tough guys. So, yeah, I think, over 1.5 rounds is a good one for this one. And I like Grant Dawson. All right, let's keep going, guys. Let's keep going. I don't want to make this a super long video. Ooh, another banger, man. Look at that. Polish Power, Jan Blachowicz versus Bogdan Guskov. Man. It's interesting because they're basically even. I'm seeing minus 120 for Jan Blachowicz, but the odds are apparently even, and I get it. I think Guskov got that. He's got that youth on his side, man. Look at that, 42 for Blachowicz, but at light heavyweight and the seasoned guys like this, I mean, that power does not fade, so I kind of get it. But it's a tough one. I almost kind of want to go for Blachowicz here just because he's a former champ. He's more battle tested of the two. But I do think, Guskov has that finishing streak. He's less proven, though, so it's kind of like, it's tough because, I mean, it's tough to see Blachowicz just losing, being KO. I mean, I think Guskov has the power there, but, I mean, I think Blachowicz he would be smart to try to mix it up a little bit, use his experience, try to, he's got some power in his hands, too. He's got some, Polish power. He's not necessarily a knockout artist, but, I mean, these are big guys. They both got power. I think Blachowicz would be smart to kind of get the grappling going, so if it's even, look at the odds, guys. I think if there's money coming in on Guskov, maybe, you see the odds get a little juicier on Blachowicz. I think he could be a good dog to sprinkle on if he becomes a dog. It's even right now, so I'm going to stay away from it. But look at the line movement. If Blachowicz becomes a big dog, I think he is, good to sprinkle on them. But if it stays like evenly matched as far as the odds, I'm probably going to stay away from it. But in the over 1.5 rounds, I do actually think it goes over 1.5 rounds a little more often than not, maybe 60% of the time, just because, these are big guys, but they can be cautious. Maybe, Blachowicz could use the grappling to try to slow things down. Or if you want to do starts round 2, I mean, hey, that'd be good if the odds are decent enough. But, I'm going to stay away from this fight for now. Just look at the odds, guys. Look at the odds for that one. And a very interesting matchup here. Henry Cejudo versus Peyton Talbot. Now, is when Peyton Talbot kind of got, quote-unquote fraud tested by Ronnie Barcelos. Barcelo's been, getting everybody. He's been just, kind of grinding out wins. I mean, I think he won against Cody, but I think my boy Cody Garbrandt should have got the nod in that one. He was damaging him more, but hey, Ronnie Barcelos knows just he needs to do what he needs to do to get a win, and he fraud checks Payne Talbot. I had a little viral clip on my Instagram of that. When you have a minus 1,000 favorite in your parlay, it just kills it. Yeah, it's just terrible. But anyway, against Henry Cejudo, it's interesting because he's got that really good. Obviously, look at that. Of course, he doesn't shut up about it. The King of Cringe has that Olympics level wrestling in his back pocket. But at this time, I mean, look, he's tiny, dude. And at bantamweight, I mean, he took that time off. Henry Cejudo took that unnecessary time off to get attention, right? Quote unquote, just kind of fake retiring. Lost. I mean, he could have been making money, in some interesting matchups when he was in his more closer to his prime. He's 38 now. He's 5'4" at bantamweight. He's taking damage. And Peyton Talbot, look at that. I mean, he's younger. He's bigger, 5'10" against him, man. 27 years old, and he's gotten better. If you see, he's improved his wrestling. I think he knows that he needs he's not going to match a wrestling ability for 10 years old, but he just needs to use his frame and just work on his takedown defense, obviously, and he's been doing that. So with this one, it's a weird one because if it gets, it's weird. I think Talbot's my pick, but I do think, and I think over 1.5 rounds more often than not it does. I mean, these are bantamweights, and Cejudo's durable enough, and Payne Talbot's probably is not going to get it finished really. I think Cejudo should be durable enough and crafty enough to survive over 1.5 rounds, but it's a weird one because it's not my most confident over 1.5 round though. I think more often than not it does go over 1.5 rounds, maybe 55% of the time, but it's not my most confident over 1.5 round prop to bet. So be careful of that. Just depends on the odds. You have to look at the implied odds, look at what it does. And I think Cejudo, man, actually, if the line gets even wider, I wouldn't mind just a sprinkle on him just because Henry Cejudo knows he has to go to the grappling. He has that weird kind of karate stance. I think he'll do that to move in, but once he gets close, he needs to close the distance and kind of get that wrestling going. So I think Talbot is the pick, though. If you do have Talbot in some parlays or whatever, and they get the odds get wider, hey, there's no shame in pre-hedging with Henry Cejudo there. Still a former champion there, Olympic wrestling, a lot more experience. So yeah, I mean, I think it's good. But yeah, for now, Peyton Talbot's a pick, and over 1.5 rounds more often than not. Oh my God, we got a fun one coming here. Jeez, look at that, my boy Tatsuro Taira. It's a weird one because they always have the name, interesting name if you look at the kanji. But anyway, all the way from Okinawa, Japan. Very beautiful place, Okinawa. Going against Brandon Moreno. Man, it's just such a good one. Interesting odds here. Kind of fumbling on when I'm speaking here. But just ignore that. Look, minus 125. He's a slight favorite against Brandon Moreno. Plus 105. Very interesting, very interesting matchup here. Maybe the lines could be disrespected. Brandon Moreno, he's a former champ. He's as legit as they come in this division. But I think... And that's why I think, he is a former champ. He's very technical. He's got good fight IQ and experience. So I actually feel like he could be a good dog to sprinkle. I mean, I think he's getting disrespected in a way. But I got to go with Tatsuro Taira, man, my boy here. Because, look, I think he's improving from the losses. He's younger. He's improving. He's got the grappling going, I think. And he has some sneaky power, actually. And they're both durable. I think, as far as this, I think as far as this going over 1.5 rounds, more often than not, 60% of the time it's got to. I think that's a decent parlay leg. And I think I do like Tatsuro Taira here from the grappling perspective. But, Breno, he's got a fight IQ. He's got the good striking. I think if it stays, the longer it stays on the feet, it's going to really favor Moreno. But I think Tatsuro Taira, he has developing striking. He's got actually that really nice straight shots. He's got some sneaky power for the division. So I think, he could answer back. And if he's smart, which he is, Tatsuro Taira will actually try to backpack him, try to get there. Moreno has no slouch on the ground, but I think, it's an interesting one because it's just like Moreno has the striking advantage as of now, but he's still no slouch on the ground. He's got experience. Tatsuro Taira, he has I think the grappling advantage, but his striking is developing, right? So I think it's good. I think youth is on his side. I think Tatsuro Taira is my pick. And over 1.5 rounds is a nice little thing to put on there. But like I said, it's kind of a weird theme in this card, in a lot of cards recently. But I do like Tatsuro Taira, but I think Brandon Moreno, if that line gets wider and wider, you almost have to pre-hedge or just sprinkle on Moreno, just as he's got, like I said, fight IQ, experience. I mean, you can't be disrespecting the former champ like that. So I think if the line gets wider, guys, I think Moreno is a good dog to sprinkle on, but I am taking Tatsuro Taira, and I do think it goes over 1.5 rounds. All right, need to stop repeating myself. Oh, man, another banger, just banger after banger. Another one here in the flyweight. Alexander Pantoja versus Joshua Van. Very hyped for these fights. This is a really interesting, man. I think here I got to go with Pantoja, though, dude. I mean, look, the odds reflect it. Minus 225 favorite, plus 185. We all love Joshua Van. He's legit, man. He's got the power in his hands. He's looking so slick. And, his takedown defense and stuff, he's developing his grappling. Pantoja just, look, I think Pantoja, he had, grappling advantage here, solid takedown game, he's got the submission threat as well. And, I think he does take it more often than not. Maybe 68% of the time, I think he has to give it maybe to Pantoja, I mean, Joshua Van's got that striking, but look, Pantoja, he gets hit, he's like a zombie, if you hurt him on the feet, he'll still come back. And I think if he's smart enough, he'll go for the, he'll go for it, he'll go for the grappling, which he should. And I think as far as it going over 1.5 rounds, what am I saying over here? Over 1.5 rounds, I think I like that for a little parlay leg. I mean, look, championship fight here, more often than not going to go over 1.5 rounds, and a lot of grappling is likely to happen here. So I'm just wondering. I think Alexander Pantoja is good. I think for a parlay leg, I think over 1.5 rounds is good for a separate parlay leg. And if you see some good, if the decent odds are on Alexander Pantoja by sub, I think I wouldn't mind taking that, dude. That'd be a fun one, But I think Joshua Van, hey, if the odds get super wide on him, I wouldn't mind a shot on him, guys. Hey, Joshua Van's as legit as they come. I just feel like with this matchup, stylistically, it's got to favor Pantoja. But all right, let's move on now. Boom, the main card now. The main event here. Rob Dvalishvili versus Peter Yan. This is this is part 2. We've already saw Dvalishvili get the win. Minus 550 favorite here. Jeez Louise. Now, I mean, it's just hard not to take him. I am picking Dvalishvili straight up. I mean, look, in the first fight, Merab, he dominated because there's pressure. He does what he does. His takedown game, right? He's got the volume. I mean, this is what Dvalishvili does. Every fight he's going to do it. It's high paced. He's got the strong cardio. I mean, he's a champion now for a reason, yo. And I think, look at that. The 4th title defense of the year, man. He's very consistent. I think he wins this fight more often than not. I almost have to say, just from looking at, just looking at the stats and everything too, and just going back when we've all, I've just seen, I've watched every fight he's done in the UFC. 75% of the time he's got to win this. As far as over 1.5 rounds, that's got to be a hit. Come on, that's just got to be a good parlay there. Look, it's rematch, likely going to deep waters here. Because of wrestling, I think Peter Yan, he should have been working on that takedown defense and on the striking, of course. It's the same thing. Dvalishvili, he has a grappling advantage. He knows what he's going to do. He's weaponizing his cardio. And the longer it stands on the feet, I think the longer it's going to favor Peter Yan. But Dvalishvili is not going to let that happen. Merab is going to go for takedowns. I think it's going to be a wash and repeat. I'm almost wondering if there's going to be a finish here, but I don't really think so. I think just look, Merab is the pick, and over 1.5 rounds is the pick. If you do, this is the last fight of the card, so obviously it is a good thing to hedge on, though, just in case. If you're up and Dvalishvili is your last leg, and and the odds have gotten wider, you have more plus money on Peter Yan, I think it's decent to go on. But over 1.5 rounds should be a good one to play if you don't like that either. So that's my breakdown of the entire card here. Got a little long-winded, but let me know what you're liking, what you're fading, all that stuff, and keep it here because I will update it. These are just my early leans, and peace out.